I let Madison sell your grandmother's jewelry, my mother-in-law, Patricia, said over the phone, sounding proud. She got a great price, exactly what she needed for a down payment. I tightened my grip on my coffee mug, standing in my kitchen as sunlight streamed through the window. My name is Kate, and at 32, I was listening to Patricia tell me she had given my grandmother's precious jewelry collection to my sister-in-law, Madison, to sell. Oh, I replied, keeping my voice calm. When did this happen? Last week, while you were at that medical conference, Patricia said smugly. Madison found a buyer who gave her $25,000 in cash. Now she can finally move out of that tiny apartment. I sipped my coffee, trying to stay composed. What Patricia didn't know, what Madison hadn't bothered to check, was that my grandmother's jewelry was worth much more than $25,000. She had been a well-known antique jewelry dealer in Boston, and every piece in her collection was carefully documented and appraised. You're awfully quiet, Patricia said, sounding disappointed. I thought you'd be more upset. You always acted like those old trinkets were special. They were special, I said simply. Did Madison tell you who bought them? Some private collector, Patricia said dismissively. Really, Kate, you should be happy. The jewelry was just sitting in a safe deposit box, collecting dust. At least now it's being put to good use. I thought about my grandmother, who had lovingly told me the story behind every piece, like the Art Deco diamond bracelet she found at an estate sale or the Victorian sapphire necklace once owned by a duchess. Well, thanks for letting me know, I said. I need to get ready for work. That's it. Patricia sounded annoyed. You're not going to argue or cry. Would you like me to? She huffed. You've always been so cold, Kate. This is why Madison deserves nice things more than you. She appreciates them. After hanging up, I opened a file on my computer containing photos, certificates, and appraisals of my grandmother's jewelry. The total value? Over $400,000. I called Mr. Sullivan, a family friend and antique dealer. He answered quickly. Kate, I was just about to call you. The strangest thing happened. Let me guess, I said. Someone tried to sell you my grandmother's jewelry? Yes. A young man brought in the Art Deco bracelet and sapphire necklace. He offered them for $15,000. I told him I needed to verify them first, so he left them with me. I smiled. And did you authenticate them? Of course. They're genuine, but Kate, these pieces are still listed under your inheritance. Selling them is illegal. I know, I said, pulling up more documents. Madison took them without my permission. Could you contact the insurance company? Already done, he said. The investigator is coming this afternoon. Kate, this is serious. I nodded. Madison and Patricia had no idea what trouble they were in. A message popped up on my phone from Madison. Thanks for the jewelry, sis. Maybe now you'll learn to appreciate family more. I took a screenshot and added it to my growing file. Then I called my lawyer, Jessica. Hello, Kate. I assume this is about the jewelry. The bank already contacted you? Yes, and the insurance company too. The buyer Madison found is known for shady deals. The police are interested. I leaned back in my chair, feeling unexpectedly calm. And Madison and Patricia? Selling protected estate items using an expired power of attorney? Plus insurance fraud. They've made a mess for themselves. What's our next step? We've frozen any potential sales. The investigators will handle the criminal charges. Do you want to sue them for civil damages? I thought about their years of petty insults and manipulations. Yes, I said firmly, I do. Jessica nodded. I'll draft the papers today. Oh, and Kate, the appraiser is furious about this. He's ready to testify in court. I smiled, remembering my grandmother's words. The best revenge is being prepared. Another text from Madison appeared. The buyer wants more pieces, but anything else valuable. I saved the message as evidence. I didn't need to reply because soon the real consequences were coming. The next day, everything started falling apart faster than I expected. I was reviewing patient files at my pediatric clinic when my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. First, a frantic text from Madison. Kate, the buyer is talking about insurance fraud. He's threatening to go to the police. You have to help me fix this. Then, Patricia's voice messages, shifting from demanding to desperate. Kate, call me back now. This is ridiculous. You knew this would happen. Your father would be so disappointed in you for causing trouble. Please, we need to handle this as a family. I ignored my phone and focused on my patients. During my lunch break, I finally listened to the last message from an unfamiliar number. This is Detective Morgan with the Insurance Fraud Division. We need to speak with you about the unauthorized sale of insured estate items. Please call us back as soon as possible. I called him first. His voice was professional but understanding. The buyer has returned the pieces he purchased, he said. He's cooperating and has shared texts and emails from Madison. And the rest of the collection? I asked. We're still tracking it down. Madison hasn't been very helpful. I wasn't surprised. She always let Patricia clean up her messes. But this time, there was no easy way out. Just then, my nurse entered. Dr. Mitchell, your mother-in-law is in the waiting room. She's making a scene. I sighed. Tell her I'm with patients. I did. She refuses to leave. Then call security. The nurse's eyes widened, but she nodded. Through the window, I saw security escorting Patricia out, her face red with anger. My phone rang immediately. I declined the call. Instead, I called Mr. Sullivan. The insurance investigator is furious, he said. The buyer tried selling more pieces this morning to different dealers. One was your grandmother's pink pearl set. My heart sank. Were they recovered? Yes, but they were damaged. Someone tried to restring them poorly. A wave of fury washed over me. Madison hadn't just stolen from me, she had ruined my grandmother's legacy. Then, a text from my husband Tom. Mom and Madison are at our house. They're hysterical. What's going on? I replied, they stole and sold my grandmother's jewelry with an expired POA. The police are involved. Tom's response was instant, I'm coming home. He always tried to stay neutral, but this time, there was no middle ground. That evening, I walked into our kitchen to find Tom looking shaken. Patricia and Madison sat across from him, red-eyed and defensive. Patricia stood. Finally. Now we can fix this. Kate, tell the police this was a misunderstanding. I placed my bag down. A misunderstanding? You use an expired power of attorney to steal my inheritance and sell it for a fraction of its worth. What exactly am I misunderstanding? I had that POA for emergencies, Patricia argued, which expired 6 months ago. Madison jumped in, her voice shrill. I needed the money. You don't even wear that jewelry. You don't appreciate nice things. I clenched my jaw. Appreciate? You sold a priceless pearl collection for pocket change and ruined it. My grandmother spent 20 years collecting those pearls. They're just pearls. Madison snapped. Why are you making such a big deal? Tom finally spoke. How much was the collection worth? $400,000. Madison's face turned pale. Patricia gripped the counter. That's impossible, Madison whispered. The buyer, the one working with police, gave them all the proof they need, I said. Patricia turned to Tom. You have to stop her. She's your wife. But Tom was staring at the documents I had laid out, appraisals, bank records, evidence of theft. Mom, he said quietly. What were you thinking? Patricia's voice wavered. I was thinking about family, unlike Kate, who's always been an outsider. It was a protected estate. I cut in. Gran spent her life preserving those pieces. Madison scoffed. Well, she's dead now. She doesn't need them. Silence. Even Patricia looked horrified. I exhaled. You're right, she's gone. Which is why I promised to protect her legacy. Now you both need to leave. Your lawyers can contact mine about the civil case. You're suing us? Madison shrieked. Among other things, I opened a door, and the insurance fraud case is just beginning. After they left, Tom sat down stunned. I never thought they'd do this. I met his gaze. Didn't you? They've been taking from me for years. The only difference now? There's proof. He swallowed. What happens next? Now, I said, we let the law handle it. Just then, a message from Detective Morgan. We found more pieces at pawn shops. Can you come tomorrow to identify them? I replied, yes. Then a text from Mr. Sullivan. Your grandmother always knew you understood the true value of things, not just the price, but the history. She'd be proud of you. I glanced at the small diamond ring on my finger, the first piece my grandmother ever bought. Some things were worth more than money. The legal process moved quickly, and within weeks, Madison and Patricia were facing both criminal charges for insurance fraud and civil lawsuits. The impact on our family was like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples everywhere. I sat in the lawyer's office, going through the growing stack of evidence. The investigators had tracked down most of the stolen jewelry at pawn shops. Some items were damaged beyond repair, and others had been broken apart to sell the stones separately. The good news, Jessica, the lawyer said, is that we have all the evidence. The bad news is that some pieces were badly damaged, making this a much bigger case. Mr. Sullivan had provided a detailed list of the ruined items. The pink pearl collection, now ruined from poor wrist-ringing, was a huge loss to antique jewelry collectors. My phone buzzed with a message from Tom. Mom wants to meet. She says she wants to make things right. I showed Jessica the message, and she shook her head. No private meetings. Everything must go through the legal process now. Patricia and Madison had tried different approaches. They'd apologized, threatened to ruin the family, and even claimed I was overreacting to a misunderstanding. But the evidence was clear. Security cameras showed Patricia taking jewelry from the safe deposit box multiple times, and Madison's messages to buyers showed she knew exactly what she was doing. The criminal charges were the hardest for them. Patricia's expired power of attorney was fraud, and Madison had sold protected estate items illegally. Their plan had failed completely. They're offering a settlement, Jessica told me one morning. They want to pay for the damage and drop the rest. I thought about my grandmother, who had spent years preserving these pieces. No, I said firmly. This is about more than money. The final court hearing was set for spring. I met Tom outside the courthouse. He looked tired, but determined. Our marriage had been strained by everything, but he had stopped trying to keep the peace at any cost. Madison's inside, Tom said quietly. She's still claiming she didn't know the collection's real value. Despite the appraisal documents, I asked. Tom nodded. Mom's not here. Her lawyer told her not to come. The hearing was quick. With so much evidence against them, Patricia and Madison accepted plea deals. They would have criminal records, and civil penalties would make sure they paid for the damage they caused. As we left the courthouse, I got one last message from Patricia. I hope you're happy. You've torn this family apart. I showed it to Tom, and he surprised me by laughing bitterly. Classic mom, she still won't admit she did anything wrong. That evening, Mr. Sullivan came to see me with good news. Using his connections in the jewelry world, he had found similar pieces to replace what we had lost. They'll never replace your grandmother's collection, he said, showing me pictures, but they will help preserve the history she cared about. Thank you, I said, touched by his efforts. Why did you work so hard on this? He smiled. Your grandmother was more than a colleague, she was a friend. She always said you were the only one who understood that jewelry isn't just about looking pretty. It's about preserving stories and protecting history. She knew you protect that legacy. 6 months later, I opened an exhibit at the local historical society called the Mitchell Collection. It showcased the recovered pieces along with photographs and stories of their history. My grandmother's legacy was preserved and shared with the community. Patricia and Madison weren't invited to the opening, but I heard they drove by a few times, watching as people admired the items they had tried to sell for quick cash. Tom stood beside me at the exhibit, holding my hand as visitors admired the displays. You did the right thing, he said softly. I'm sorry it took me so long to realize that my phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Sullivan. Your grandmother would be so proud, not just for saving the collection, but for standing up for what's right. I touched the small diamond ring on my finger, the first piece my grandmother ever acquired. Some things are worth more than money, and some lessons are worth learning, no matter how hard. Sometimes, the best way to get back at people isn't to seek revenge. It's to protect what matters, preserve what's precious, and share it with those who truly understand its value. Madison and Patricia learned their lesson the hard way, but I learned something too. Strength isn't always about fighting back. Sometimes it's about standing firm, protecting what's right, and letting justice do its work. The collection might never be whole again, but its story, and my grandmother's legacy would live on. It would be protected by someone who understood that some things are more valuable than money, and some principles are worth more than peace.